Uh, I wanted to, as some of you may or may not be aware of, I'm leading another NLP practitioner certification training beginning in May. And I wanted to convey a few things and a few access points, a few tools, a few perspectives that can help you, um, whether whether you've thought about NLP or not. NLP is sort of like going to a mechanic. There's a wide variety of skills. There's a wide variety of levels of ethics, levels of understandings about your particular vehicle, like that. So I wanted to make sure that you understood sort of where I'm coming from, and also probably cover something that's not really talked about a whole lot when it comes to NLP, and what I think the greatest gift is that comes along with learning about NLP and getting to apply those tools. And sure, as one of the things I say to the students, you will learn things and you'll be able to do things with clients that most people don't even think are possible. You'll be able to clear anxiety, generational anxiety, out of their nervous system. You'll be able to dissolve fear and shame and anger very rapidly and very thoroughly, like a 70% reduction in trigger points, things like that. Parental imprints. There's, reintegrating parts of themselves that are disowned, shadow work. Like there's all these things. In fact, you could take one weekend of NLP and somebody's probably built out the whole body of work based on it and called it something else. But you'll get the meta patterns for that. You'll understand, the structures behind it. And that's fantastic. But it's a lot less interesting sometimes for people, but it'll give you much more access and much more powerful insights into why things work, why other transformational tools work, how they're working, and give you access to creating your own. But that's not even, I think, the biggest benefit. All those things, while certainly beneficial, they're not the biggest benefit. So first of all, a couple of NLP practitioner or a couple of NLP presuppositions or guiding principles. One is that we're not experiencing reality. We're experiencing our internal representations of reality. Now, this isn't really new, right? It's not the thing itself. It's our experience of it. It's not the events that are occurring. It's what we think of them, like that, whether it's, Buddha in the East or Plotinus in the West, or Immanuel Kant, this stuff's been around for a long time, or cognitive behavioral therapy. There's these principles, and then NLP has just gotten a lot more refined with it. And so one of the biggest benefits of it is actually metacognition, being aware of your thoughts and getting so facile with your internal experience, the structures of your internal experience, because that's really what NLP is the study of the structure of your subjective experience. And so you'll become like Neo in your own matrix. I mean, that's really the kind of abilities you'll have in terms of navigating your own internal experience. And so, you may have experienced something in your life and you misinterpreted it and you're there for a while, or you just made it up. Maybe you don't have any information. You just make up a thing and you live into that and you experience some emotional suffering and you find out it wasn't true at all, or it wasn't accurate, or that or you finally caught yourself. NLP gives you the ability to, notice those thoughts right away. And almost like a dating app, you can swipe left or right on whether or not that thought is serving you, whether or not it's actually, whether or not based on no information, especially. But even if you have information, what's the best way what could we make it mean that's most empowering? But even more refined than that, how is the thought being represented in your mind? And one of the examples I love most is, if you think of somebody who's you're very fond of, you think of them right now, and go ahead and do that. Go ahead and take a moment to go ahead and close your eyes and think of somebody whom you're very fond of. And notice where their face is around you as you imagine it. And just notice the distance and location. right? And notice what happens in your body if you pull their face further away. This person you're very fond of, way across the room, or turn into black and white, or have it fade away a little bit, get dim. All those things, all those, we call them submodalities. Just notice what happens in your body. Something you'll notice a visceral reaction, and then go ahead and put them back where they belong, as they originally were. And let's go ahead and think of somebody now who you would prefer never to see again. Somebody who you don't have any strong negative feelings toward, but you might be like, oh, that person, I'd rather not engage with them. You might cross the street to avoid them, or something like that. Somebody who you really don't enjoy being around, and imagine where their face is around you now as you imagine them. And there's probably a different location, a different distance maybe from you. Now imagine what happens if you could bring them nose to nose with you, right? And notice how that feels in your body. And go ahead and put them back where they belong. And you can start to play with these things, but this is the kind of access to your own internal experience. And most of these, by the way, we are not responding to reality. We're responding to our internal representations of reality. No matter what's happening, there's, a set of structures internally that is providing our emotional experience. And once you're aware of it, once you bring this into your awareness, then you can have so much choice over your own internal experience. Does this serve me or not? Or if it's persistent, if the thing keeps coming up, well, what happens if we alter the submodalities of it? What happens if we simply push it further away, or bring it closer, or what have you? Or deal with the internal part of you that keeps bringing it up and dissolve that and bring it home, reintegrate it back into the whole, back into the core. So there's so many ways that we could go with this, but this one particular thing, and once you have exercised that much choice over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. And then you're truly emotionally free. Like something happens and you might spend a few seconds or, a few minutes in an unresourceful place. And then you realize, well, I could think about this differently, and not just a different interpretation or live into a different possibility, but actually the internal workings of the thought itself and how it's represented. So there's that question that often comes up for people is, well, is that authentic? What is authenticity? And I don't know, is a misinterpretation authentic? Is that authentic? Is that any more authentic than actually having more access? And I'll also say that these are physical skills, so of course they're not authentic. Grammar is not authentic. Being able to perform gymnastics is not authentic. Being able to lift weights in the gym is not authentic, right? But we develop these skills and capacities so that we can increase our skills and capacities. And it's no different with your internal experience and your emotional life. And again, this is nothing new. This is just a much more refined access point to it. So you can meditate for 5 or 10 or 20 years and gain this kind of access. Or you could gain some of these skills, not only help yourself, but also help your clients and help yourselves and them to be free. So I don't know what thoughts you're having right now. You can notice the thoughts that you're having right now, whether or not they serve you or whether or not they, you want to live into them. This does come at a cost, by the way. It does come at a cost, this kind of freedom. You have to give up on blaming anybody for your internal experience. You get what comes, where the freedom comes from is taking 100% responsibility for your internal experience, not blaming anybody for the hurt or harm, but rather you getting access to yourself. Now, that doesn't mean that, we want to stay in situations where people are being abusive or not caring about our feelings and, not having, not any sort of empathy. But what it does do is have you realize how much choice you have and how much choice you've given away and how much you give away all choice when you blame somebody for your internal experience because they're not creating it, you are. Again, this is, all the wisdom traditions say this. This is just the access point to how. that you learn in neurolinguistic programming in the training course, as well as how to produce magical results with your clients. Like, if you're a coach and you keep coming up against something that stops or blocks your client, you can simply remove that for them if they want to. If they want to be free from that, you can simply remove it from their nervous system, and then you could deal with much more interesting challenges than the fear or the anxiety or the anger or the trigger that keeps coming up that stops them, or the fear of being their full self, or the self-esteem issues. You can help them navigate that with incredible magic. So the course starts in May. Registration's open. If you want to talk to me about joining the course, there's a process for that. You message me, or and then we schedule a complimentary exploratory session to make sure that the course is a fit for you and you're a fit for the course. Ethics are very important to me, so there's also a screening process. And with that, I hope you all get to exercise more choice, more freedom, and I hope you're all happy. I hope you all get to be happy.